You swap the engine, everything boots up, you fire it up, and then it hits you. Restricted performance. Just 2 words, but they ruin everything. No boost, no power, and no clue what went wrong. We pulled it onto the ramp and started troubleshooting. We focused on the turbo actuator, but before we could even touch it, we had to get access. To do that, we started by removing the large plastic cover located underneath the front bumper. Then, we had to unbolt the front stabilizer support bar. That metal brace was blocking direct access to the actuator. Next, we disconnected the vacuum hose from the actuator to ensure it wouldn't get damaged during removal and to allow us to manually test actuator travel freely. Hold the connector or pipe firmly and gently twist the hose back and forth to break the seal. Once it loosens, pull it straight off. Do not force it, especially on plastic fittings, they crack easily. If stuck, apply a few drops of WD-40 around the base and wait a minute. Locate the bolts or screws securing the part. Use the right size and type to avoid stripping. Apply slow controlled torque, don't jerk it. Once loose, continue turning by hand or with a ratchet. Store the bolts in a tray or container so you don't lose them. We unscrewed the 4 bolts holding the front stabilizer support bar. Used a 13mm socket with a ratchet. Clean with a wire brush if needed. If the bolt is worn or rounded, replace it, especially in critical areas. By the way, the lower control arms were already replaced earlier, so we are not touching them in this job. Only after clearing all that could we begin the actual work. Once exposed, we removed the actuator and cleaned the mechanism thoroughly. We connected the pressure pump to the actuator nipple, pumped it up to 1 bar and waited. But something felt off. The actuator arm wasn't moving smoothly. It was jerky and hesitating. That's when we knew it wasn't just about pressure. We removed the actuator completely, cleaned all the carbon and dirt buildup, and replaced it with a tested unit. Use a brush and brake cleaner or carb cleaner to remove oil, carbon and dirt from the outer housing. Wipe it with a clean rag or compressed air. Use a small wire brush or fine sandpaper if needed around the pivot and mounting points to remove rust or buildup. Spray again with cleaner to flush out any loosened debris. Reapply penetrating oil for smooth motion. This time we connected the pump again, brought it up to 1 bar and held it for 30 seconds. The arm moved silky smooth and the needle held steady, no pressure drop. That confirmed the diaphragm was healthy and there were no internal leaks. Years of grime and soot were affecting its movement. Then we manually tested how smoothly the actuator arm moved, ensuring there was no resistance or sticking when releasing vacuum pressure. Once we confirmed it was moving freely, we reinstalled it, reconnected the hose and moved to the next step. Align the actuator exactly in its original position on the mounting bracket. Make sure the actuator arm is seated properly on the turbo lever or replication without forcing it. Insert and hand tighten all mounting bolts to avoid cross-threading. Then torque them down evenly using a ratchet or torque wrench if spec is known. Ensure the actuator sits flush and is firmly secured. Slide the hose back onto the actuator nipple. Refit the clamp, spring or screw type to secure it tightly. Check the hose for cracks or looseness, replace if necessary. Stabilizer support bar. Position it and tighten all bolts securely. Plastic under tray skid plate. Align with clips and reinstall screws or fasteners. Ensure mounting is loose or left behind under the vehicle. Double check all connections, actuator bolts, vacuum lines, brackets. Look for any leftover tools, rags or parts. Visually confirm that all components are correctly aligned and secured. Using the Launch Diagnostic tool, we performed the full actuator calibration, forcing it to learn its correct open-close positions in real time. Then we went into the ECU and cleared all stored fault codes, including those for boost pressure, turbo response and DPF signals. Follow that up with a complete adaptation reset. This tells the car to relearn airflow, turbo behavior, EGR cycles and more, all based on the new engine and cleaned components. After we finished working on the turbo actuator, it was time to put everything back together, starting with the front stabilizer bar. We carefully positioned the bar back into place under the subframe, making sure both ends were aligned properly with the stabilizer links. Then we mounted the support brackets over the bushings and started threading the bolts by hand to avoid cross-threading. Once everything was lined up, we tightened the bolts gradually and evenly on both sides. Securing the bar firmly in place, we made sure the bushings were seated correctly and not overly compressed. If the stabilizer links were disconnected, we also reattached them to the lower control arms, holding the shaft with an Allen key while tightening the nuts. After completing all the mechanical work, from cleaning the turbo actuator to reconnecting vacuum lines, the final and most important step was performing a system reset and calibration. We connected the diagnostic tool, in our case the launch scanner, to the OBD port. The first thing we did was clear all stored fault codes from the engine control unit. This removes any lingering warnings or old errors that could keep the system in limp mode. Then we ran a turbo actuator calibration. This procedure forces the ECU to relearn the open and closed positions of the actuator, ensuring precise boost control. If this step is skipped, even perfectly working actuator might behave unpredictably. Next, we performed a full adaptation reset. This tells the car to forget old parameters like fuel trims, airflow behavior, EGR cycles, and rebuild them based on the new, clean state of the engine and sensors. It's especially important after an engine swap or DPF regeneration. Once everything was reset, we restarted the engine and watched closely. No warning lights, no restricted performance message, and during the test drive the throttle response was smooth, and the turbo kicked in exactly when it should. At this point, the system was fully recalibrated and running like it should. After the actuator calibration and TCU reset were completed, we moved on to the next critical step, the DPF Regeneration. Since the diesel particulate filter was partially clogged, we used the diagnostic tool to trigger a forced regen. The idle increased slightly, the cooling fans kicked in, and we could feel the engine working to raise exhaust temperatures. To support the process, we went out for a steady test drive, keeping RPMs above 2000, avoiding stop-and-go traffic and maintaining consistent throttle. We stayed mostly in third and fourth gear to cut the regeneration complete efficiently. The particle filter soot mass is gradually decreasing. It's now down to 18 or just 15 grams and still dropping. And now it's at 17.95 grams. The regeneration is clearly working. And somewhere around the midpoint of the drive, after a long day under the car, I decided to enjoy one of the perks of driving a Range Rover. I turned on seat ventilation and adjusted the massage function to a higher level. Let's just say, if you're going to regenerate a DPF, this is the way to do it in comfort. Regeneration mode for the DPF and relaxation mode for me. That's teamwork. One thing I love about this Range Rover, explaining split screen display. I can monitor the DPF Regen on one side and still have the map or music running on the other. Simple but smart. After about 25 minutes, the regeneration cycle completed successfully. The idle returned to normal, the fan shut off, and the scanner confirmed soot levels were back within spec. With that done, no more errors, no more Limp mode, just smooth, full power and a clean system.
If this helped you understand what's really behind restricted performance and how to fix it step by step,
Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below if you face similar issues with your Range Rover. More real repairs, real tools and real road tests coming soon, right here on John Auto Fix Studio.